Rahul Mamkootathil gets bail in the third rape case. Now, the questions that we are going to ask is questioning why is it that he gets relief again and again. This is not a comment on the Honorable Court at all. Kerala MLA Rahul Mamkootathil has been granted bail in a third rape case. The District and Sessions Court in Pathanamthitta allowed bail after reserving its order earlier following objections raised by the prosecution over the authenticity of certain digital evidence submitted by the accused. During the hearing, the defense argued that the relationship between the MLA and the complainant was consensual. Rahul Mamkootathil, the Palakkad MLA and an expelled Congress legislator, had been in judicial custody almost for 18 days, and this is since 11th of January. In this case, an NRI woman has alleged that she was befriended through a social media platform, forced to book a hotel room and then sexually assaulted. She also alleged that she became pregnant and later suffered a miscarriage. The MLA is currently facing 3 separate rape cases filed by 3 different women. Let me now go across to a legal expert. Why does Rahul Mamkootathil keeps getting relief again and again? I'm sure the court is absolutely right, but this is a layman's question and also a question coming from a woman. K.V. Dhananjay, senior advocate from Karnataka High Court and Supreme Court, has joined us. Thank you so much, Dhananjay, for joining us on this broadcast. You know, the Honorable Court said that Mamkootathil can be released on bail because there was a delay in the filing of the complaint, and also there was continued communication between Rahul Mamkootathil and the alleged survivor, victim, whatever you want to call, saying that a full-fledged trial was necessary in this case. I want you to weigh in on this, that if I am scared that the so-called person is a very, very influential political leader and I hesitate to file a complaint, which has been the case with Rahul Mamkootathil continuously, Dhananjay. Right from a journalist to several other people, they said we didn't want to open our mouth. It's happened with women across, particularly in Kerala after the Hema committee report, because you are ostracized. You are actually also press ganged by several people. And the second is that there was constant communication. Enough grounds for granting bail to this Rahul Mamkootathil?
Yes, it's important to know that a bail is not arrest prior to a trial is not a form of punishment, and punishment happens only after a trial. Now, the purpose of arresting a person is to aid in the investigation. Now, what is investigation? Investigation is to collect material, is to collect evidence, and also to provide a sense of security, not a sense, provide actual security to the victim. If the victim would allege that if this man being free is likely to harm her, then the court will also weigh and see how soon did she complain? I mean, I'm not coming to the specific facts of this case, but if a rape victim were to complain to the court that the victim is likely to be injured or harmed by the accused, then that will be a consideration which the court will weigh in its mind before granting or rejecting a bail. But in a case like this, it appears that the complaint was filed several months after the alleged
Yes.
events, and therefore the court is not going to weigh that particular aspect. On the other aspects, the court is always going to look at and find out, is custodial interrogation necessary in aid of the investigation? It's really very important for people in this country to realize that, because very often we forget it. And it's not just us, very often, I mean, when I say public, it's also very often lawyers and judges forget it. Now, who reminds judges, who reminds lawyers and courts that bail has a very limited aspect is when top lawyers go before the court, and it's almost always in
Right.
high-profile cases where high-profile accused are there.
Yeah.
They remind the court and say that if you wish to convict, if you wish to punish this man, then you must hold a trial. And it's only after a trial where the guilt or innocence would be established can
Right.
you punish someone.
Yeah.
So arresting a person at the stage of investigation is not meant to punish an individual, and that's an important aspect to bear in mind when we want to evaluate whether a grant of bail in certain cases is justified or not.
Right. So,
And the fact that this would be the third
yeah,
bail
third.
in succession.
Yeah. No, I want to ask you, Dhananjay, the thing is that I want you to weigh in on, if I delay lodging a complaint against someone whom I deem to have sexually exploited me, or how is that how does that have any impact on the case which is pending? Because I could take my own time. I thought in the Me Too cases, the time factor was really never the issue. Number two is also the court says that she lived overseas. There is also, you know, a thing about she lived overseas and she cannot be, therefore, that was another reason. Also, they said that yeah, the thing is that the petitioner being a prominent political leader and an MLA now of the assembly, there is no likelihood of his absconding or evading the process of law. See, for a lay person like me who does not understand legalese very well, you say a person is arrested so that the investigation can go apace without any kind of an impediment. But the thing is that when it goes without any impediment, it also, I think, for me means tampering of evidence, influencing the witnesses, also being a man of, you know, some kind of a public standing, using his influence over this. But the court also says that because he is prominent, we don't think he will abscond. That can also be tantamount to saying that, you know, he is not somebody who will actually influence the case. So, I don't understand that. Another thing, this country is now talking about marital rape, where I could be married for 25 years and I have never complained that this man whom I am married to used to sexually rape me almost every other night. You know, and also what has, if I got pregnant by X man, I mean, I will communicate with him, right, to say that, listen, what am I supposed to do? Or to say, why don't you take my calls anymore? You don't like me anymore? Why are you ignoring me? Which is actually deceit and deception. I want you to weigh in on all this.
Yes. Now, one of the factors that courts look for is if bail is granted, what's the likelihood of securing the presence of this individual? Should there be a trial against him? And while weighing that aspect, courts always look to whether the individual concerned has deep roots in society. Now, it's difficult to define deep roots in society. So courts adopt the easier approach and say that, look, if it's a film star or if it's a prominent politician or even a popular politician, not necessarily a prominent politician, the possibility of that individual going away and hiding and then acting anonymously is somehow reduced. I mean, these are assumptions that courts make for several reasons. So in that context, for the court to say that this is a politician and he, you know, if he's a one-time or a two-time MLA, that he appears to have roots in, perhaps the court could have framed it differently and said he appears to have deep roots in society. So therefore, he does not constitute a flight risk. Number one. Number two, it's again important to note that we have a very low conviction rate. And this is not helping by having more people spend more time behind bars prior to the trial. In fact, a good number of experts, legal experts, have lamented about the pitiable state of our bail law because the standard by which bail is granted or refused in this country, in cases like death or rape or kidnapping, is such that the court must be prima facie satisfied that the person accused may not be guilty of the offense. You know what it means? It means valuable time of the court is taken up in for days and for hours by both sides arguing whether this man is he has likely committed the
Jeel,
offense or not.
even in Umar
In
Khalid and Sharjeel, does that apply also, Dhananjay?
yes, yeah, absolutely. But again, there is criticism of the Honorable Supreme Court itself for what it did in those cases, and I do believe that the criticism is, with great respect to the court, justified. It makes no sense to retain individuals in custody at the investigation stage and to send a kind of a deterrent to someone else because our law does not work in that manner. Look, we could choose to instead change our constitution, go over to the Saudi Arabian model, where rape trials typically conclude in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and the punishment for rape is public beheading. So, and again, the rates of rape in Saudi Arabia, very published rates are really very low. So, we've made a choice to have a system of law, but unfortunately, we've in fact not managed it well enough. So much so that the conviction rate in India is horrible. Now, I can give you in a city like Bangalore, for offense of murder, the conviction rate is in single digits. And in each one of these cases, you would find that the accused were kept in custody for months on end,
You know, yeah,
sometimes for
yeah,
years on end.
yeah.
So, so the question is, if in 100 murder cases, 91 cases are going to be acquitted,
Right.
but in all 100 cases, people were arrested and kept behind bars for months or for years, then
Yeah.
the question arises, what then was the helpful role of incarceration before trial?
Yeah, but
That's
you,
an important question.
right.
And and I can tell you this, good lawyers will always be able to argue well for their clients in criminal laws, in criminal cases, because the bail jurisprudence is such that with good amount of lawyering, it's almost always to get off a
What do
get up
you,
a
all right, what do you have to also say about being in communication with him, after, the accusations, or they said that, not they did, the Honorable Court did not. They said the woman was in constant communication with Rahul Mamkootathil, then wakes up and complains. What is wrong with that? I mean, it's happened in Tamil film industry, where a very, very prominent singer, Chinmay Sripada, came out and alleged that she was sexually kind of, violated by one of the top lyricists, and it was years ago. Again they said, oh ho, you've suddenly woken up. What is wrong with that? I don't, I want you to see it through the legalese, through the prism of legal. I mean, I'm saying this, that's what I understood. I can go today, if I was sexually, violated 10 years ago, to say that, Dhananjay, this happened. I want to, actually charge him.
yes. The complaint given by the woman in question here, if the complaint, when read as a whole, is such as to give room for the belief that there was no communication between them, but the accused is able to show as part of his defense arguments that there was communication between them, I believe the accused did argue that the relationship between them was consensual. And as part of showing that the relationship was consensual, it appears that the accused did show communication between him and the complainant. Now, what is rape? A rape is a non-consensual intercourse. So, to say that something is non-consensual, it is important for the court, or maybe for the prosecution or for the complainant, to show that there has been a dissonance, or or a kind of distance between the complainant and the accused after the event. Now, if that dissonance or discontinuity in communication is not there, but communication did happen, then apparently the court could assume that the defense perhaps has a point to prove as and when the matter goes to trial. But these observations too would be unnecessary if only the law in this country was different. The law in this country, unfortunately, is not, this would certainly discourage the women in question. There's no doubt
Yes,
about it. I
absolutely.
think, if it were America, they would not comment on the merits of the case. In
Absolutely.
America
Yeah.
or in UK, they would look at 2 or 3
All right.
factors and say, here is a big, bail bond or the surety that you will have to
Exactly.
provide, and they're
Yeah.
not going to make comments like
Yeah,
this.
because
So
also about the influence, Dhananjay, I mean, the man, look at him, he's like a film star. And I just don't understand. The Honorable Court, I think, should take cognizance of the fact that he's indeed a very, very influential man.